I see the stakeholders in the room. Today marks 32 days to the wishes to confirm to the country that we are on course in preparations for the general election. We also wish to update the country on the following matters. One, registration of candidates was successfully concluded on 6th of June 2022. This was immediately followed by resolution of disputes arising from the decisions made by the returning officers, either by registering or declining to register candidates. 325 cases were filed at the Dispute Resolution Committee, out of which 39 complaints were allowed, representing 12%. 269 complaints were dismissed, representing 82.7%. These were dismissed summarily for want of jurisdiction, prosecution and merit, and 17 were withdrawn by the candidates, the complainants, representing 5.2%. The Dispute Resolution Committee had and determined the cases, the 325 cases, within 10 days. And out of those decisions, 31 matters have been referred to the High Court by way of judicial review. The Commission acknowledges the rights of such aggrieved persons to move to court to review the decisions of the committee. The Commission shall endeavor to abide by the orders lawfully issued by courts of law. Having finalized the Dispute Resolution Committee, the Commission embarked on printing of ballot papers here and undertaking logistical arrangements such as transporting general election materials from headquarters to the county and constituency offices. The logistical arrangements required to ensure that all election materials, including ballot papers, are distributed on time during polling day at each polling station. And this is largely dependent in court. The Commission notes with concern that these critical processes could be hampered by unconcluded court cases and cases in which orders have been issued stopping printing of ballot papers, amongst others. This is likely to interfere with the logistical arrangements which have been put in place to ensure efficient and timely delivery of materials. Indeed, this could compromise the conduct of the election itself. This morning, the Commission received the first batch of ballot papers, being 128 pallets at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Following the meeting with presidential candidates on the 29th of June 2022, the Commission printing and packaging of ballot papers. After consultations with the printer, the Commission has established that all stakeholders can schedule a visit between 15th July and 20th July, during which time the presidential ballot papers will be printed and packaged for shipping to Kenya. Delivery of the printed ballot papers commenced today, 7th of July 2022, and shall be concluded by 29th July 2022. The second issue we want to brief the country about is that the Commission is concerned and takes a great exception on the rising propaganda through gutter press, social media, and some political players on its members and staff, and distributed in various social media channels by innocent Kenyans. This has not Commission, but also security threats to them, even as the country gears towards the 9th of August 2022 general election. The Commission condemns the actions of the perpetrators in the highest order. The Commission has written to the Director of Criminal Investigations to urgently investigate the matter and take stern action against the perpetrators of such insincere and insensitive propaganda. We also urge the Inspector General of Police to enhance security of election. Earlier on, the Commission had announced during the verification and inspection of the register of voters that it had identified members of staff. This is a third issue, that identified members of staff who were involved in irregular transfer of voters in regions such as Wajir, Kiambu, Uasin Gishu, Nyeri, and Nairobi, amongst others, without following the laid down protocols. The Commission has since shared the report with the Director of Public Prosecution for further investigation and prosecution. And the fourth issue is the Commission, in partnership with other institutions and development partners, will be holding a National Elections Conference, IEBC. The conference will provide an opportunity for Kenyans and key electoral stakeholders to reflect on their roles in the broad spectrum of the country's preparedness towards the 2022 general elections. The conference is designed to include participation of state and non-state actors from the national and county governments. International and local experts will share their experiences in panel discussions and presentation of papers. The media is invited to cover the event. We continue to appeal to all stakeholders to support the Commission towards conducting a successful general election, including maintaining a peaceful political environment conducive for secure and credible elections. The Commission remains committed to delivering to Kenyans a free, fair, and credible election that meets the democratic aspirations of the people of Kenya. That is our briefing today on the state of preparedness by the Commission. Thank you. If you have any questions, you may field them.
From NTV. My question is, we'd like to know the status as far as the relationship among the chairman and the other commissioners within the commissions, because there is information that other commissioners or some commissioners were not even aware that the ballot papers were arriving in the country today, and their claims that you are the chairman, you are running the process as a one-man show. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the commissioners are all here to say what happened. The issue of ballot papers was informed by management, informed us last 8 p.m. last night, and I informed the commissioners that the ballot papers are arriving. So if there's any commissioner who has told you otherwise, I would like them to come forward and maybe state what they mean by that. As far as I'm concerned, and I speak for my management, we are working together, mission which I'm holding from the commissioners. And in fact, I think the right person to speak about the information flow is perhaps the CEO can address on that issue about giving us that information of the arrival of ballot papers at 8 p.m. Mr. Marijan?
To echo what the chairman has said in regard to management of the affairs of the commission. With regard to matters ballot paper printing, there is a committee that has been entrusted with that responsibility, and they are when the ballot papers will actually be arriving. So we got the information yesterday, and yes, we've been able to share with you today, because we got the information yesterday night, and today we've been able to go to the airport to receive the materials. It should also be important to note the required 30 have actually started printing. If you look at 30 days for them to be able to deliver, then the last date ought to have been 30th of July. Without that, then the actual of the out of the contractual agreement, and therefore they cannot be able to take responsibility for any delay in terms of printing. So the committee has been working tirelessly with the printer, and the information we received yesterday, we were able to receive it, and there we are. We actually received the ballot papers today. Thank you very much.
Any to say anything? Want to go ahead? All right.
Okay, yes, thank you. As the chairman has said, yes, he got the information last night and he communicated to the commissioners, and today we have received the papers. Even the CEO has commented the same. We have what we call the Project Implementation Committee that is in charge of this process. Thank you.
Yeah. Questions?
My name is Erin Mwangi from Capital FM. What is the status of the publication of the audit report, which the Commission is yet to do so a month after that exercise? Also, at the same point, when is the Commission expected to make public the party list of the nominees for different political parties in the Senate and the County Assembly? Lastly, how many election officials are we talking about who have been involved in the illegal transfer of voters?
Okay. Maybe.
Marjana has stated that it takes 30 days to print, and the last day ought to have been on the 30th. Today is the 7th. And question is, first of all, we have not seen the names of candidates per se. Second of all, within 7 days, the first batch of ballot papers have been printed and delivered. So when was the order placed? And then the other question should be, there's a ruling by Justice Murima on submission of signatures. That essentially has, so what is the IEBC position? Does this mean then that all the other presidential candidates who had been locked out, would they be allowed to participate in this election? Or what is the position of IEBC legally?
Yes, Mr. Mwangi. Yes.
Mwangi, campaign. First, I want to confirm that we have received a petition to participate in the commission for that, and we have also received the invitation to submit names of those who will travel to Greece. However, we are still concerned that there's still back and forth regarding this issue of a complementary system, and I think a clear communication should be made to the public of what this means. The best situation for us would be just to say that we shall have a voting process as we did in the last election. And if they not change how it dealt with the election in the last election, there was no fight as to what system was being used. I want, however, to come to the issue of the printing of the ballots that have already been done. And I think this goes to the Secretariat because I believe it is them who give the order to the printer. Regulation 52 requires the chairman to publish a gazette of the names of candidates. As of now, that gazette has not been published. We have heard that the explanation for the commission is that that has been submitted to the government printer. However, the law is that until that gazette comes out, then you do not have a legitimate list of candidates as of today. And there is proper case law on that, and people will remember the case of the Kiambu County who attempted to act on a legislation. So as we stand now, ballots have been printed for candidates who have not been gazetted, and without gazettement, it means then that there are no legitimate candidates for those positions that you have printed ballots. As to whether what you have printed can legitimately be termed as a ballot within the Constitution. How are you going to deal with that legitimacy crisis? Because until that gazette notice comes out, all the people who you have declared to be candidates will not legally be candidates until they're gazetted. Thank you.
Yep, we can deal with those ones. Can we finish with those ones? Then we take another round. Publication of audit report. And gave a press on the release of the audit report. Pursuant to that, what the commission has then done is ask the CEO to prepare a matrix or a write-up on what the commission has done to implement that audit report, which we want shared then with the relevant stakeholders in terms of the law. Misinformation, disinformation, and a skewed flow of information. So we want to circulate that audit report to the relevant institutions together with our matrix of compliance or enforcement of the recommendations of the audit report. And I think Mr. Marijan, I don't know when he'll be ready with that, but it's in the course of, he's in the course of sharing that with the relevant institutions. So it will be shared with the relevant institutions together with the matrix of compliance by the Commission. Party lists, when? Is legal here? Yes, you answer that question. I've not seen the report on the party list. You come and say when it's ready. Officials, in the legal report, the officials involved are five. Five officials are involved from the preliminary, the report which we have shared with the DPP. And DPP, I'm sure, will take the relevant action. The names of candidates, and I believe this goes with the question by Mr. Mwangi, Paul Mwangi, on the Gazette, the Gazette notice. The Commission submitted the names of the 16,000 candidates to the government printer, and that was on 30th of June. We understand there were logistical challenges, including breakdown of time, but I believe the CEO has been in touch with the printer. You can shed light on that. And legal director, maybe you can also comment on the case referred to, Kiambu County case, Regulation 52. Complementary system, the discourse in the last meeting, Mr. Mwangi, I think we were with you at Windsor. And we had way forward was we proceed to print the register, but we await the outcome of the court. Way forward on the matter of fiscal register versus the digital register. But what I've seen in the media is the opposite of that. Maybe we need to have that conversation again, because at this rate, then we are not waiting for the court case. We are having conversations through public rallies, and then the Commission is put in a situation where we really don't know what to say. But I thought we said, let's print the register, wait for the court determination, then we follow through. But perhaps we could then have another meeting with the stakeholders and find a way forward, because this is our country. We don't have another country. We need to be on the same page as we move towards this process. So I would be recommending, and we shall be discussing the Commission on a possibility of another meeting to finalize on that issue. If we can't wait for the court case, then I'm sure we can come up with a solution one way or another. The ruling, again, our Director Legal is here. Would you want to take that up? Yes, so we, and then I'll invite the commissioners if any of them has anything to add. We.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll respond to the three questions. The first one is on gazettement of the candidates. The Commission chairperson signed the Gazette notice on the candidates on the 30th of June, 2022, and the same was transmitted to the government printer. Now, the government printer has been working day and night to ensure that the notice is published in good time. As at yesterday, there was a slight problem, that is, the notice has to come out with the photographs of the candidates. So this morning, the government printer indicated that it was almost done with the transposition of the photographs, and that the notice would be out in good time. The notice is dated 30th of June. The case law that has been cited by Senior Mwangi, it is about gazettement of legislation that was passed by the County Assembly of Kiambu. It is not in respect to candidates' gazettement per se. On the issue of party list, the Elections Act is extensive on the framework of processing party lists. Now, the last day of receipt of the party list was on the 25th of June, 2022. The Commission then, by law, has a period of 14 days within which to review the party lists submitted by the political parties. A total of 79 political parties intending to participate in the elections submitted their party lists. So as we speak, there's a technical team that is reviewing the party lists, and by 9th of July, which is the end date of the 14 days prescribed by law, there will be a report on compliance and non-compliance. The Commission will then write to the political parties that have not complied with the checklist on party lists. And the political parties will have 7 days, as prescribed again by law, within which to now revise, and not to review, to revise their lists. So from 9th of July, add 7 days, that takes us to 16th of July. So that is the date, the last date that the political parties will resubmit the revised compliance. The Commission will go through the lists again, and if any is found to be non-compliant, then the same will be rejected in total. Now, those that will be found to be in compliance will be published in at least 2 newspapers of national circulation for the public to have a view of all those persons who have been proposed in the party lists by political parties. A notice will then be published by the Commission on dispute. So any party member who is aggrieved by the list that will then be published is at liberty to lodge a complaint with the Commission's Dispute Resolution Committee on grounds of probably non-inclusion or discrimination or whatever grounds. Now, the Commission will only be seized of the mandate to resolve a dispute that touches on non-compliance with the statutory provisions. But if it's a dispute between a member of a party, again, 2 sets of disputes, presided over by the IEBC Dispute Resolution Committee, and another set presided over by the political parties' disputes tribunal. On the judgment on supporters of independent candidates and supporters of presidential candidates furnishing the Commission with copies of the identification cards, the judge on Tuesday delivered a brief judgment, a brief text of the judgment, and yesterday he delivered a full text judgment. We've gone through the judgment, and there are 4 declaratory orders that have been issued. Of course, the case was a consolidation of several cases with petitioners running up to 18 in number. Part of the case revolved around prayers that provisions of the Political Parties Act on independent candidates are discriminatory independent candidates. There is the limb that touched on the copies of supporters, and the judge declared provisions of the Elections Act, that is Section 18, provisions of the Elections General Regulations 2012, as amended in 2017, That is Regulation 18(2)(c), Regulation 24(2)(c), 28 (2)(c), and 36(2)(c), unconstitutional and discriminatory. Quashed the regulations as amended. But as you know, the law does not act retrospectively. If it did, then the judge ought to have specifically ordered and directed the commission to register those persons who did not qualify for want of compliance with those regulations. But there is no such a positive order directing the commission to clear those aspirants. So the law applies moving forward, and the commission is guided. The commission has a feeling that that judgment is not sound with respect, and has filed a notice of appeal in that respect, and is applying for a stay of execution of that judgment for valid reasons, because the commission believes that it is not a well-grounded judgment based on constitutional principles and based on the provisions of the Elections Act. Thank you, Chair.
So thank you, Owiye. Just to add on that, the impression that the commission makes the regulations and has its own laws is what's trending on social media. Now, that's not true. What the commission implements is the Constitution, the Elections Act for purpose of elections, and the regulations which are in that act. Now, regulations are passed by Parliament and approved and passed by Parliament. So we follow the law as then laid down by the people of Kenya in the Constitution, and the laws which are then passed by Parliament. So in all we do, and at the time we are clearing candidates, we follow the Constitution, the election law, and the regulations that were in place that time. And they were constitutional that time. So we did not create our own laws, as it's being, the impression is being given around. Yeah.
My name is Emmanuel from News.
Yes.
Just a quick follow-up question. There were reports that Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula is related to one of the printers in Grace. I know you mentioned you answered it partly, but what would be your answer to it again? And secondly, follow up on the comments about the manual and electronic voter register. What would be your direct answer to Raila Odinga, who said no manual voter registration, no manual voter register, no election? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you for this opportunity. We want to confirm that Kenya Kwanza and UDA are also taking part in the visit that has happened this morning, mid-morning, at your warehouses where the KIMS kits are being loaded with the registered voters. And Chairman, we hope that the team, all the teams, all the stakeholders will develop a protocol on how those visits will be conducted and how issues raised by stakeholders will be handled. For instance, if there are any concerns raised by political parties, what is the turnaround time for taking up those issues and implementing them, so that we don't carry forward baggage as we move towards 9th of August. We would also request the Commission that all our communication, especially from Kenya Kwanza UDA, that you respond in a little bit more difficult for the operation of your plan towards the 9th of August. Sometimes we know the Commission is overwhelmed, but it's taking a little longer than expected to respond to communication. So we hope that can be improved going forward. Once we have a protocol which is agreed among all the stakeholders, it becomes easy for parties to understand that if the visits are happening on Thursday, is it available for people to go there on Friday or on Saturday? If an issue is raised, who will be responding to us in a timely fashion? Regarding, that's issue number one. Regarding also the issue of the presidential candidates, the ballot paper, I believe, is now going on print for the presidential elections. So we are assuming that in spite of the judgment that was given by Justice Murima, that moving forward, we have the 4 candidates on the ballot, and it is confirmed to avoid sending confused signal to Kenyans regarding the number of presidential candidates on the ballot. On the chairman, this is an issue that is getting misty by the day, and you need to come out more clearly on how this identification system will work on 9th of August 2022. I think the commission need to confidently inform Kenyans and advise Kenyans that identification will be through the KIMS kit at the door. I think we are getting more confused. That's the primary mode. That's what we discussed at Windsor. The primary mode of identification will be through the KIMS kit, so that people don't go to the stations on 9th of August thinking that they are going to be identified using the manual register. That is not the primary mode of identification on 9th of August 2022. Chair, I think you need to come out clear together with the commissioners on what is the primary mode of identification. And if the manual register is used, what is the protocol for using that manual register? Do we say that we'll have 100 people walking in and they are not being found in the KIMS kit? Their data is not available on the back to the manual system, so that we don't send a confused signal that we are using the manual system for the 9th of August 2022. I think those are the issues I would want to raise with the commission.
Okay, thank you. We can deal with those ones.
My name is Giverson Minor from K24. And for us not to misreport, we want you to come clearly, especially on that complementary thing. And this is the question. If you agree with the political parties that you're using both the electronic and the manual, then which one becomes the primary register? Is it the electronic or the manual? Then if, for example, electronic becomes the principal, the primary, if you're not there, you're not electronic, but you are there. Thank you.
Okay. Can we answer those ones? Or you? Yeah, let's take yours, then we... Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
My name is Samuel. I write for the Daily Nation. Two quick ones, Mr. Chair. Kindly come clear to me on one, how will IBC cater for the ongoing cases if already the printing of ballot is on? And then the second one, I am well informed, I've just forgotten the name of the NGO, that I've lodged a petition with you not to use coronavirus. I don't know.
No, not yet. I haven't seen the petition, but I think they should lodge it elsewhere. Yeah, the coronavirus has been here with us, and we are survivors of that virus, all of us in this room. So let's deal with those ones. I think the issue of I would like the commissioners to weigh in here on the issue of the register and the processes of the voting processes around the identification process. Professor or CEO or any commissioner can do that. The issue of procurement, I saw there's been a lot of media reporting on this. I think the Director of Procurement, are you here? Is not here. Marjan, maybe you can assist us there. As I said, procurement is a function of the Secretariat. The commissioners don't do procurement. We do policy, and we do strategy and oversight. And so when it comes to procurement, I think the CEO should can weigh in on that. As to the process, that is, and I mentioned earlier in my remarks about profiling members of the commission, profiling staff, and I also see an attempt by some newspapers to profile me to Moses Wetangula. Now, that is very, very unfortunate, and also those who are making those remarks. He's a Bukusu like me. We were born in Bungoma, and I think that is perhaps the reason for profiling. But as a commission, as the chair of the commission, I've never sat with an individual to discuss procurement. I think it's very unfortunate that some leaders can to try and malign the character of the chair. I want to urge politicians, as you do your campaigns, please focus on talking to the electorate about issues, and not attacking the commission, profiling commissioners, and profiling the staff. That is all I wish to say on that, but I would like Marjan to weigh in on that issue of the procurement. No manual register, no election. I think the issues around the biometrics, and I've already said, we as a commission, we are open. We have been discussing, and we discussed in Windsor. We have had a discussion around it. There's a case in court. Perhaps then there may be need to have another Windsor 2 meeting to then deal with, because there's no need for us to have a conversation and then now we go out there and next in another meeting. And I think that's what the commission will be discussing as to when we can hold this meeting. Protocol to visitations at our warehouse. I think I'm aware you've been meeting our technical team, and I've seen the reports. They are, I think, making good progress. And I think this protocol then, who is the lead of our side and the protocol, the technical team? Sunguli? Is he around? Okay, Marijan, maybe they have been briefing you? They've gone where?
To the warehouse.
A warehouse. Oh, they are in the warehouse. So your question is, if the issues are raised, Sarsala Paul Mwangi will also say the same thing. I've received, I think, a lot of mail from Asmi, about 5 letters. Every time we finish responding to one, another one comes. But we assure you we shall give you your responses by close of business tomorrow. The reason being that the issues you raised are very technical in nature. We had to use the same technical team to now prepare the responses. And hopefully we should be able to give you our the responses by tomorrow. The response to communication, time, as I say, that is covered. Candidates, what is this question on candidates? Yes, so Professor, then Marjan, then commissioners on follow-up. Thank you. Yes, on the verification processes.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if I got the question correct, but it talks about the candidates not being gazetted, but the ballot papers being printed, is it? If that is the case, then I think the moment the chairman had signed and authorized printing of the gazette notice of candidates, the same was also communicated to the printer for purposes of fast-tracking the process. As you've heard, we have about a month or so to conclude the process. And if we are to wait for a lengthy printing, and we hear now there is even some breakdown, then the timelines in the election operations plan will be seriously jeopardized. So that is the reason why we had to communicate simultaneously to the printer at the same time the gazettements. On the issue of the digital register, the Commission is guided by a Court of Appeal judgment, which was rendered on 4th of August in 2017. And as a Commission, that is the judgment and the guidance that we are going to follow until there will be an otherwise judgment contrary to that. So if you are not familiar with that judgment, I think we need to make efforts for all of us to look at that judgment. And in that judgment, it actually adopted a memo that came from the commission then. And that memo was dated 27th of July, 2017. And the judgment held that the primary data of the register of voters is the biometric. So it is the primary register to be used. The same judgment says there will be a complementary system in the event that a voter will not be able to be identified. In other words, all processes and efforts that has been made for biometric. And here there are several stages. Once you turn up, you give out your ID or your passport, whichever you used for registration as a voter. And if you are identified positively, then you will be asked to touch the fingerprints, the KIMS kit. And by the way, the biometric register and the physical register or the paper register, they are one and the same. You use the biometric register to print register. So this notion being carried around that biometric register and paper register are different is actually misleading Kenyans. It is the same register which is in an electronic form. It's only printed and bound as a booklet. So there is no distinction, ideally. The only thing we can talk about is, in the event that, for whatever reason, your finger is not able to be identified, and it can happen so. If you are a farmer and you've been using your djembe so often, if you have been probably a plantation worker, a tea plucker, vidole zimeenda, you are a young lady from coastal northern Kenya, umepaka hina, haionekani. In such a scenario, there is the same judgment gives an alternative. If you put there and you are not visible, I mean your details are not popping up, then they take your identification card you used during registration as a voter. If it is the ID, they will take the ID number and insert in the kit. If you are a registered, duly registered voter, your details will pop up. If it pops up, then all that the clerk does is, this image on the screen of the KIMS kit, is it the same person who is standing here? If it is so, then tick, you will be allowed to go and vote. There will be what we call supervisory mode that will authorize you to vote. Then you will still don't need the paper register, isn't it? You will have voted. Then the situation arises where that kit has completely broken down. What arrangements has the Commission made in such a scenario? If and when there is a total breakdown of the kit, which means it cannot do anything, the Commission provides a substitution of that particular kit. And this time round, I was actually talking the same thing to KEPSA people this morning. The Commission has doubled the number of spare kits in every ward. Instead of 3 in 2017, now we have 6. So all that the PO will do is to notify the returning officer, the RO, and the RO will make arrangements for a kit to be delivered to start the process. And all they will do is just remove the SD card and insert in the new kit, and things will run. So for us, we do not, if you are in the register, in the digital register, you will vote. There is no way you will be missing in the digital register and you will be available in the paper register. Because we said they are one and the same. So we only revert to the the paper register in the event that even the backup kit has failed. And there is no other alternative kit to be provided substitute. In such a scenario, that presiding officer cannot make that unilateral decision. He will have to, now the complementary mechanism will kick in, There will be a process. He will report the same to the returning officer. The returning officer will notify appropriate director, and it is then that authorization will be given to the PO to open the paper register to be used for voting. Is it clear? So that is the default mechanism as per this judgment of 2017. If and when there will be an amendment to that judgment based on the canvassing that will happen in this current case, of which I doubt if a lower court is going to override a senior court, then we will wait and see for that judgment. So I think that was the guidance that the Commission was trying to use, and I think it was the discussions we had in Windsor that we will print the register, the paper register, but we will keep it and use it in the event that there will be a complete breakdown in accordance with the guidance as provided by the court in 2017.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to add on one small thing that probably I would want Kenyans to know on the same, is that many people don't know which registration documents they have used during registration. I've seen some cases that I registered but I'm not there, and they give me the ID numbers. But when you check in our database, I see that they have registered using their passport. So people should take advantage, because this facility is still there. Let them confirm which document did they use. Did they use passport or did they use ID? So I think that is very, very important, because then you will go to the polling station with ID and yet you have used actually your passport to register, and then you are going to be turned away. So it's very important for people to confirm that. In as far as procurement is concerned, I want to say that the Commission is a law-abiding institution. And we are all aware that was basically done using open tendering method. And that is the law requirement, that the procurement should be done in an open and transparent manner. So the Commission used open tendering method for the purpose of sourcing the printer of ballot papers as well as the results forms. And you are aware that out of this, Inform Lycos was actually the company that won this tender. And even after that, during the period where actually aggrieved party can be able to complain, and the Commission was found to have complied with the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act of 2015. Similarly, also the aggrieved party still also went to High Court, and the same also, High Court also stood with the Commission in terms of following the process. The other group also still went to the constitutional petition, and this matter was litigated in the beginning of this year. The Commission was found to have actually complied with the process. So in terms of procurement, I want to assure the Kenyans that the procurement was done above board, and the Commission would like to distance itself from political aspect of associating the process with the politicians. The process was done in an open and transparent manner, and everybody was allowed to participate. Chairman, that is all I want to state. Thank you very much.
Yes. Oh yes, yeah, good.
Thank you. Sorry, there was an issue on COVID, and as what the chairman said is that we've been living with COVID, but we also are concerned when also the Ministry of Health basically pronounced that we have to take precautions. So earlier on, before the advent of COVID, we had already started procurement, and we had secured framework contracts with companies that was up with the necessary PPEs. What we did when there were COVID cases, we said we are not going to procure, because now the country is actually in a safe position. But now that there's been another announcement by the Ministry of Health in terms of taking extra precaution, We have since activated those framework contracts because it's just a matter of placing an order. And we've been able to place orders for the purpose of the general election. So in as far as COVID is concerned, as a commission, we have our protocols and we are going to adhere to those protocols, which are also guided by the Ministry of Health protocols. Thank you very much.
There was a question on about the ongoing cases vis-a-vis ballot printing. What the team has done, from what I understand from the CEO and the team, is printing started with those ballots where there were no issues, no cases before the DRC or the court. So that's where we started, and we are progressing in that manner. But we don't have luxury of time. The judiciary has to finalize those cases. And we cannot go beyond the periods which we have outlined. So whatever cases in court, actually the Chief Justice possible by the end of this week, so that we can then be able to print the ballot papers and bring them in the country and be able to then send them over to the respective constituencies and polling stations. So do we have another questions? Let's take the last round.
Okay.
Yes.
This is to the Vice Chair. She's alluded to something that was very brief, and in her brief comments, you can misconstrue what she was trying to say. And the issue was on the commissioners being fully aware of the ballot printing exercise. All she said is that they were informed today that the ballots are arriving, and went to the airport. So, Madam Vice Chair, once again, just for clarity purposes, please clarify, were the commissioners fully on board about the ballot printing exercise? Because the information you're getting and your response can be, well, interpreted or misinterpreted otherwise.
As you think of a lengthy answer, let's take the other questions, if any.
Hello.
Yes.
My name is Kenyan.co.ke, and I have 2 questions. So for the first one, where does
Say that again.
Where does IEBC store the IDC? For the next question.
That is during the nomination period or something? Yeah, okay.
The copies of IDs.
Okay.
For the next question, what will happen if Sakaja is later blocked by the courts from buying after ballot papers bearing his name have been printed?
You got that? You know, some of us went to very different schools. I didn't get the second question. Yes. So, let us say the second question again.
I just want to know when is the next simulation exercise?
Okay. Next simulation, yeah. We can deal with that. The second question, unless somebody captured it. They also didn't hear. Yes.
What will happen if Sakaja is later blocked by the courts from buying after ballot papers bearing his name have been printed?
Okay, Sakaja, okay. Now, the matter is in court. It's sub judice and I'll not comment on it. But, as I said, we're urging the judiciary to speedily dispose of those cases, because we cannot, at some point in time, we shall have to print the ballot papers. So if they can dispose them off this week, then the commission will be able to move with the rest of all those changes that may be there. But if they delay, then we will still print ballot papers, and it will be too late then to change. Yes. Vice Chair, then IDs gathered. We are compliant with the data protection laws. I think the CEO should be able to give you a bit more detail on our level of compliance with the data protection law. Next simulation again. Professor, we can take your question. Then we yes.
Thank you, President. It's just a brief one on that issue.
Yes.
There were so many important questions which were raised.
Yes.
And I think one of that one probably would require much greater consultation between IEBC and the relevant stakeholders.
Yes.
Because, for example, there were questions such as, were there agents in those areas where
yes.
the data was allegedly coming from? So
yeah.
I think that one, a lot of those questions can easily, at the next simulation, can only be productive and effective if there is a prior consultation.
Yes, and I think we have done a lot since that time. The CEO should be able to take you through what we have done and the preparation towards the next simulation exercise.
Chair, with your permission, I have two more questions to finish my list of questions. One is on agents. We had raised an issue during the Windsor one about candidates being allowed to have their own agents at the polling centers. We still have not gotten a response or new engagement. If you could throw some light on that issue, that would be very important.
Candidates being allowed to?
Candidates being allowed to have agents online at the polling
the number of agents per candidate, or?
Yes, candidates are insisting they have a right under the rules to have their own agents
okay.
in the process.
Yeah.
So we would want to hear what kind of direction you would give on that.
Okay.
And then regarding the KPMG audit report, can you confirm to us whether all the rated to wrong polling stations in other counties, can you confirm whether they have been returned back to their stations? How many were they? And these questions would be eased up if you could give us the report and the commission to undertake that everybody has been taken back to the area where they were registered to vote.
Okay, thank you. Marjan, you can pick up this. This vice chair, sorry. Let's start with the vice chair, and then you pick up the others, and the commissioners can chip in.
Thank you. Mine is just to repeat what I have said, and I picked up from what the chairman said, that he was called last night at 8 p.m. and was told that the first, after that he called me at 9 p.m. and told me that we are going to receive the first consignment today. We were to have the KEPSA meeting today, so we had to reorganize the schedule for today so that part of the commissioners will go to the airport to receive. And as you saw, it was the three of us remained at KEPSA meeting. That was Professor, myself, and Commissioner Wanderi. We were not there. Everything is just plain, and then the CEO has also reiterated and said that we have the contract implementation committee that liaises with the supplier, the printer, and everything was done in order. And he also explained into it, that is the flights, that, and knowing that the contract was to take 30 days, and indeed today we received the first consignment. Let me cool down the pressures of the country, that indeed we are going to have free, fair, credible elections come 9th of August, because there is nothing that we are going to put under the carpet. Indeed, the management does their part, and the commission deals with the House, and we will even make it open. Remember today, our stakeholders, the political parties with presidential candidates, have gone to the warehouse to check the production of the KIMS kit that is ongoing there. Again, we will travel to Greece to see the printing process. That is between the 15th to the 20th. Thank you. Am I clear enough? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The question I wanted to address is the issue of IDs, copies of IDs collected from supporters and candidates. I want to assure the country that, as what the chairman has stated, is that we actually subscribe to the Data Protection Act, even for the purpose of enrollment and for the purpose of processing the data, whether it is processed by us as controller or by any other entity that does it on our behalf. We have filed the Data Protection Impact Assessment with the Data Protection Commissioner. This can be confirmed. And we have put down measures that we put in place to ensure that the information regarding our customers is basically protected, or rather the information of the data subject is protected. So we are very keen in doing that. That's why you see, even when you ask for register, whereas you could be sharing names, but you cannot be sharing IDs and probably telephone numbers. So we actually truncate those details to ensure that we protect the information of our customers, ensure that those data are actually secured as much as possible. Regarding the next simulation, when is it going to be done? The Commission is working towards possibly end of next week, but we are going to announce to you when this simulation is going to be done. And yes, we have regard to issues that have been raised by stakeholders, very, very important. Part of the thing we are going to do is to assure you that we are doing the right thing. We would want to invite stakeholders to be where we are going to transmit from, and from where we are going to, at a central place, like give you assurance, including where we are. One will be transmitted where we are, and therefore that will give you assurance that the process is working as expected. So that is what we intend to do, and we are going to inform in advance when are we going to do it. Regarding the issue of KPMG, I think the chairman has explained. What we do want to do was to share the report without also sharing with the implementation on what we have done. You notice that the report basically stated that there are immediate recommendations that to be done, and they define immediate recommendation to be between the date of the issuance of the report and the date of the election. There are some things that we need to do very quickly, and there are those ones that needs to be done after the election. So for us, we've been paying attention to ensure that, first of all, we actually implement the same. I think we sincerely apologize for having delayed to do that, but we are going to, our target was actually to do the same by end of this week. So we are going to release the same together with what the status of implementation, because I think for you it's not just about what are the issues, but what have you done about them, and that is what we are trying to pay attention to on that. I think the issue of agents, I don't know, but maybe Mr. Oye can be able to comment on this. But what I know is that if we have, for example, 4 candidates in a polling station, let's say for presidential purposes, we have got 4 presidential candidates, and therefore we'd expect at any particular time we would want 1 accredited agent in the polling station. If there are many, but if they want to change because of personal concerns, sometimes you are pressed, you want to go out, then somebody else can come in, but they must be accredited, and that accreditation process is going to be candidates who are actually in the race. Then we will also give them at least 1 candidate per independent. So we don't want to overcrowd the polling stations, but we want everybody to be there to witness the process as much as possible. Thank you very much.
You want to add on the issue of agents? Or is covered? I think it's clear. The issue about when is the register available, I know you have not asked, but you'll ask sooner than later. The register, I think we are finalizing by next week.
Yes. The printing of the polling stations.
Yeah, polling station, at polling station level, I think by next week, then we should be able to tell you to pay us some money, then we give it to you. Yeah, so I think that should be done by next week. Otherwise, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and we look forward to our next press briefing, which should be sooner than, I think we shall agree with the team sometimes next week, early next week. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming. Shall we give